Chapter 7:14. After sending Ling Xiaoqi away, Su Yiyan immediately asked her husband for the information and pictures of the properties and sent them to her. You want her to move? Yes, that man knows where she lives now. I'm worried that it's not safe for her to continue living there, so I asked her to move. Originally, I wanted her to move to our house, but he was worried that she would disturb our two-person world, so I could only ask her to move elsewhere. You seem to pay special attention to her. Su Yiyan suddenly paused and looked up at him in surprise. Are you jealous? I just feel that you seem to be particularly worried that she will return to the Qin family. Is there any special reason? Su Yiyan's heart trembled, and she couldn't help but sigh at Hua Chenhuan's keenness. I'm just worried that she will become a puppet in the hands of that man this time. She will have no choice but to become the target of public criticism. Just like what Xiaoqi said just now, he obviously didn't raise her for even a day. He only provided her with a sperm and tried to control her life, using her as a chess piece for his own interests. It's okay if it's useful, but if it's useless, he will throw her aside and let her fend for herself. This kind of person, to put it bluntly, was selfish. With such a scumbag father, even if Ling Xiaoqi didn't die in the hands of the first wife, she might not have a good end in the future. Hua Chenhuan intuitively felt that this matter was not so simple, but since Su Yiyan was unwilling to say, he didn't ask much. The Hua Group's shareholders' meeting will be in a few days. Several old shareholders specially invited me to attend. Su Yiyan suddenly became interested. What do they want to do? Find out the truth? Or both? Hua Chenhuan narrowed his eyes and sneered. They have enjoyed watching Hua Qihan's affairs, and it's time to do something serious. During this period of time, Hua Qihan's family was really chaotic. It was almost a small drama every 3 days and a big drama every 5 days. It was reasonable to say that outsiders like them were not qualified to ask about the private lives of their immediate superiors and partners. However, the fire in Hua Qihan's backyard had not subsided even after such a long time. Instead, he was getting more and more anxious. Many people began to wonder if a decision-maker who couldn't even manage his own family could really manage their company well and bring long-term benefits to them. Then what are you going to do? Since he has invited me so sincerely, it won't take much effort to take a look. I can also annoy Hua Qihan. Su Yiyan frowned. She felt that Hua Chenhuan was not in the right mood when she mentioned Hua Qihan. Fortunately, the two of them did not dwell on this topic for too long and quickly returned to the topic of moving. Have you decided where to move to? Not yet, but I want her to move closer so that we can take care of each other if anything happens. Then let's do it here. It's convenient and close to us. I think so too, but it still depends on whether she likes it or not. By the way, find a few more people to help tomorrow. I'm worried that a long night will bring trouble. The sooner we move, the better. Okay. It turned out that Su Yiyan, who had witnessed the tragedy of Ling Xiaoqi's previous life, was very prescient. Qin Fengde had been suppressing his anger for the past few days. He had thought that little girls of this age were the easiest to deceive. Besides, Ling Xiaoqi had not had a father around since she was a child, so she should be most eager for a father's love. As long as he played the role of a loving father, it was only a matter of time before he brought her home. Who would have thought that imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel? Chapter 7:15. Qin Fengde didn't take the indifference the first time and the stern rejection the second time to heart. In his opinion, these were just the struggles of a child who didn't know how to react when she suddenly saw her biological father. The next time they met, the child would definitely understand and go back with him. Then there was no then. Qin Fengde was on the verge of exploding after being rejected at the door several times in a row. Where is she? What's going on? How can such a big person evaporate into thin air? Boss, the landlord of this house said that Miss moved out last night and settled the rent with her before she left. I think she won't come back. Qin Fengde raised his eyebrows and asked coldly, where did she move to? This. The bodyguards looked at each other and didn't know what to do. Seeing this, Qin Fengde became even angrier. What are you guys doing? Didn't I ask you to keep an eye on her? Now that she has moved out, you don't even know where she moved to? It's our negligence. Something happened last night and we were led away. When we came back, the light in Mrs. House was still on. We thought. Hearing this, Qin Fengde almost jumped up and kicked them a few times. What do you think? Thought she was still inside? She just used a little trick to fool you. I spent so much money to hire you, and this is how you repay me? Trash, trash. The leader of the bodyguards lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. This was indeed their mistake. If Qin Fengde really wanted to hold them responsible, all of them could only bear the consequences. Qin Fengde was angry for a while, but he calmed down and asked with a sullen face, I asked you to check which company that girl is working in. Did you find it? Yes. The bodyguard wiped the cold sweat on his head. Miss is now working in an entertainment company. Qin Fengde's face darkened. Entertainment company? Star. Miss is not a star. She's just an internal staff member. Qin Fengde's face became better after hearing this. He snorted and said, what future can she have working in a small entertainment company? Having been in a high position for many years, Qin Fengde, who thought he had some status, really didn't care about a small entertainment company. He even had some prejudice against small stars in the entertainment industry. In particular, Ling Xiaoqi was still a girl. If her nephews at home found out that she was a celebrity, they might make an issue out of it. Luckily, Ling Xiaoqi was just an internal staff member and not an artist. Even so, Qin Fengde still didn't think much of it. He felt that being a small employee in an entertainment company, how could it be as relaxed and happy as being the eldest daughter of the Qin family? The bodyguards were as quiet as chickens and did not speak. Qin Fengde did not expect them to agree. What time does Xiaoqi usually get off work? Young Miss seems to get off work at 6 o'clock sharp recently. 6 o'clock? The few of you, come with me to her company at 6 o'clock and wait outside. I don't believe that we can't find her. Qin Fengde's expression was gloomy, and his eyes faintly emitted a chill. Just as Su Yiyan and the others knew, his purpose of coming to find Ling Xiaoqi was not simple. On the surface, it seemed that he came for his daughter, but in fact, he wanted to use her as a chess piece or even a shield to temporarily resist the fierce attacks of his nephews. Chapter 7:16. In addition, he had another purpose, which was to use Ling Xiaoqi to get help for himself. When Qin Fengde first found out that he had a daughter, he was both disappointed and relieved. He was glad that he still had a descendant. Although it wasn't a son, having a daughter had its benefits. She was easy to control and would not cause trouble. If anything happened, she would have to rely on him. He did not have to worry about her escaping his control once she grew up. Most importantly, he could use her to form a marriage alliance and strengthen his bloodline. Before he came, Qin Fengde had already selected a suitable marriage partner for Ling Xiaoqi from all the young talents in Sea City. When the two of them got married, the strength of his bloodline would increase greatly. In a year or two, his grandson would be born. He was only in his early 50s now. It would not be a problem for him to stay in his current position for another 10 or 20 years. When that time came, he could hand over the company to his grandson instead of letting his nephews take advantage of it. It had to be said that although Ling Xiaoqi had never met her scumbag of a father before this, they were still connected by heart. Based on the information that Su Yiyan and Hua Jinyao gave her, she had a rough idea of Qin Fengde's thoughts. It was impossible for Qin Fengde to hand over everything that he had worked so hard to get to Ling Xiaoqi. He was a very traditional and straight man. If his son was still alive, he would never bring Ling Xiaoqi back to acknowledge her ancestors. He even felt a little uncomfortable about handing over the company to his grandson instead of his grandson. But so what? It was impossible for him to have another child in this lifetime. Without Ling Xiaoqi, he really had no hope for the rest of his life. Even so, in his eyes, whether it was Ling Xiaoqi or his illusory grandson, they were just chess pieces that he could pinch in his hand when necessary. From the beginning, he had never put them in the position of relatives, let alone father and daughter affection. If Su Yiyan knew about his thoughts, she would definitely pick up a big iron pot and hit him in the face to tell him not to touch her best friend. Hua Chenhuan went to the shareholders' meeting of the Hua Corporation. He didn't say anything when he came back, but from his expression, he seemed to be in a good mood. He was in a good mood, which meant that Hua Qihan was definitely not in a good mood. Su Yiyan was now watching this family's misfortune as a source of amusement. Every now and then, she would hear people talking about what kind of joke this family had made. However, what Su Yiyan did not expect was Hua Xiaofeng wants to see me? Yes, Mr. Hua is downstairs right now. He said he won't go back until he sees you. Do you think we should get someone to chase him out? Because of the incident with Hua Chenhuan, Uncle Zhang did not have a good impression of Hua Qihan's family. In addition, he also knew about Su Yiyan and Hua Xiaofeng's troublesome affairs, so he politely declined this person's invitation. However, no matter how much he hated this person, he could not chase him out without asking for the owner's opinion. That was why he came up to ask Su Yiyan for her opinion. Su Yiyan reached out and touched her small belly, which was already showing a little. She thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "I'll go down to see him." Uncle Zhang was shocked. "But you? Call a few more people over. Don't let him get close to me." Uncle Zhang understood and immediately went to arrange it. When Su Yiyan went down, it was quite a big lineup. 4 or 5 bodyguards in black stood in front of her. It was obvious that they were guarding against Hua Xiaofeng. Hua Xiaofeng had no time to be angry about this. Instead, he focused all his attention on Su Yiyan's belly. "You're pregnant." Chapter 717. Su Yiyan glanced at him indifferently. He was different from the high-spirited and unrestrained person he was a year ago. Hua Xiaofeng, who had lost the heir of the Hua group and was embroiled in a family dispute, now looked exceptionally gloomy and dispirited. He exuded a sense of dejection from head to toe. Su Yiyan couldn't help but sigh when she saw this, but she didn't sympathize with him. If this person had a little self-awareness back then, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Su Yiyan quickly put away the astonishment she felt when she first saw him. She swaggered to the sofa opposite Hua Xiaofeng and sat down. She said indifferently, "I'm married. I have a husband and a family. Is it that surprising that I'm pregnant?" For some reason, these words pierced Hua Xiaofeng's heart, causing his face to darken. "Your belly is so obvious. I guess you're not in early pregnancy, but there's no news at all. It looks like Uncle doesn't care much about you and your child." Uncle Zhang, who had come down with them because he was worried, heard Hua Xiaofeng's words and had a fierce look in his eyes. Just as he was about to go up and scold this guy who dared to drive a wedge between his young master and young madam, he heard his young madam suddenly ask, "Are you an idiot?" The room instantly fell silent. Hua Xiaofeng was stunned for a few seconds before he asked with a dark face, "What?" "My husband didn't tell anyone because he was worried that some stupid and bad idiots would find out that I'm pregnant and come here to cause trouble and disturb my rest. As for who he's guarding against, don't you know?" Su Yiyan said as she looked meaningfully at the bodyguards around her. Her meaning was self-evident. Hua Xiaofeng couldn't help but show some anger on his face. His hands hanging by his side clenched into fists. Su Yiyan admired Hua Xiaofeng's sorry state for a while, and didn't want to be long-winded with him. "Did you come here today just to ask about my relationship with my husband? Does he care about me? If so, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Our relationship is very good. Husband and wife are harmonious. Soon, we'll have a group of children. If there's nothing else, I won't keep you any longer. I'm in a special situation now and need to rest." The words, "a group of children," almost accurately pierced Hua Xiaofeng's heart. Ever since he got beaten up because of Su Yiyan, that part of him had been injured. Although it could still be used, it was still a lingering illness. Regardless of men's dignity, it wouldn't be easy for them to have children in the future. Mrs. Hua did not dare to tell him. She only said that it was temporary and that he would be cured soon if he cooperated with the treatment. However, he couldn't hide the truth forever. In the end, he overheard his mother's conversation with the doctor and found out about it. At that time, he was filled with anger and wanted to tear Su Yiyan into pieces. But now, looking at the pregnant and happy Su Yiyan, he was in a trance for a moment. After losing everything and falling from the top, Hua Xiaofeng finally understood why Su Yiyan had always mocked him for being self-righteous. After losing the position of young master of the family Hua and the heir of the Hua Corporation, he was nothing in the eyes of others. He didn't deserve anything. If he hadn't chosen Wen Jingping back then and followed his family's arrangement to marry Su Yiyan. Or perhaps, if he had not been so self-righteous back then, after choosing Wen Jingping, he would have apologized to the Su family properly. Then, both parties would have negotiated and peacefully cancelled the marriage. Would everything be different now? Chapter 7:18. Su Yiyan didn't know what Hua Xiaofeng was thinking. Seeing that he didn't respond for a long time, she rolled her eyes and got up to go upstairs. Wait! Hua Xiaofeng seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly called out to Su Yiyan. I'm here to ask you and uncle to cooperate. Cooperation? Su Yiyan widened her eyes in surprise and laughed. Why should we cooperate with you? Hua Xiaofeng choked and gritted his teeth. Doesn't uncle want the Hua Group? If he doesn't want it, why would he attend the Hua Group's shareholders meeting? You're well informed. Su Yiyan chuckled. So, how are you going to cooperate with us? You should have heard about what happened to our family. Hua Chenhuan looked up at Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan didn't say anything and just let him continue. My father is determined to divorce my mother and wants me and my mother to leave the marriage with nothing. It was expected, but Su Yiyan was still surprised by someone's coldness. Regardless of what Mrs. Hua was like, Hua Xiaofeng was still his son. If he were to leave the marriage with nothing, he would really become enemies with them. You don't want your mother to divorce him, or you don't want to leave the marriage with nothing? I don't want to, but I have no choice. So you want us to help you so that Hua Qihan can't divorce your mother? No. No. I've seen what kind of person he is, so I accept my fate. Su Yiyan didn't expect Hua Xiaofeng to say this. One had to know that a few months ago, this young master still looked like he had a deep grudge, as if the whole world owed him. Now he was telling her that he had accepted his fate? What did Hua Qihan do to provoke him like this? Or was he lying to her? Since you've accepted your fate, why did you come to us? What do you want to do? Like I said, I want to work with you. I'll help you get the Hua Corporation, and you help me kill Hua Qihan. Su Yiyan was stunned. He looked at Hua Xiaofeng as if he was looking at a rare toy. Hua Xiaofeng seemed to be provoked by the look in her eyes. He said loudly, You don't believe me? Why should I believe you? Are we close? Hua Xiaofeng stood up, his face flushed red. Just as he was about to speak, Su Yiyan interrupted him. First of all, where does a person who has been expelled from the Hua Corporation get the courage to tell others that you can help them get the company? If it were really that easy, you wouldn't have left in such a sorry state. Hua Xiaofeng's face darkened. He opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Su Yiyan. Secondly, murder is against the law. I don't know what kind of conflict you and your father had that you would fight to the death. However, this is your business. We don't want to get involved, and we don't need to. Whether your family lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Finally, let's not talk about whether Chen Huan cares about the Hua Corporation, which is now riddled with holes. Even if he really wants it, you should know that even without you, he has the ability to get what he wants. In this world, there's only what he wants, and there's nothing he can't get. In that case, why should we work with you? Hua Xiaofeng listened to Su Yiyan's evaluation of Hua Chenhuan. He was angry and a little jealous. Do you trust him that much? Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng. Her eyes were full of indisputable persistence and pride. It's not a matter of whether I trust him or not. He's good enough. Chapter 7:19. Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng's dazed expression. She lifted her chin slightly and said coldly, If that's all you want to say, then you finished speaking and I've finished listening. Uncle Zhang, see the guest out. Wait. Hua Xiaofeng saw that Su Yiyan was really going to leave, so he asked someone to drive him out. Finally, he became anxious. I have evidence of Hua Qihan's corruption and murder. As long as you have this evidence, you can easily take him down and take the Hua Corporation into your own hands. Taking bribes, bending the law, and killing for money. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Since you have such evidence, why don't you make it public yourself? You said so much just now. Don't you want Hua Qihan to be doomed eternally? Hua Xiaofeng was stunned, and his hands that were hanging by his side tightened again. Even if you don't say it, I know that you can't release it. Su Yiyan saw through his thoughts at a glance. Even if you really have evidence that can make Hua Qihan fall to pieces, with your current status and personal ability, it's impossible to release it and make a big deal out of it. Moreover, it's impossible to guarantee that you won't be implicated because of this matter afterward. So, you came to us and wanted us to help you. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief and sneered. In the end, You just want to turn us into a knife in your hand and use us to kill people. Do you think Chen Huan and I are such stupid people? Even if we are, so what? Since he had been seen through, Hua Xiaofeng did not beat around the bush anymore. He simply said, I do want to use you, but isn't this good for you at all? If you want the Hua group, it's inevitable that you will overthrow my father. What I want is the inevitable result. In general, this matter has more advantages than disadvantages for you, doesn't it? Su Yiyan heard this and finally looked at Hua Xiaofeng for a while. I haven't seen you for a while, but you've grown a lot. Hua Xiaofeng's brows furrowed slightly. For some reason, his mood suddenly became somewhat complicated. So, are you going to work with me or not? Su Yiyan did not answer his question directly. Instead, he asked, what are the specifics? You only have one request, which is for Hua Qihan to die or for him to suffer a fate worse than death. I can give you all these things, but after it's done, you have to give me a sum of money so that I can take my mother away. Su Yiyan declined to comment. Hua Xiaofeng pursed his lips and continued, other than that, I want you to promise me that you'll destroy Wen Jingping's reputation. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and pretended not to know. Isn't Wen Jingping your girlfriend? You two are having an argument, and you want us, your elders, to stand up for you? If word gets out, I'm afraid that outsiders will say that we're bullying the young and taking advantage of our seniority. Hua Xiaofeng glared at Su Yiyan angrily. He did not believe that the person in front of him did not know that Wen Jingping had left him. Now that he said this, it was obvious that he wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Su Yiyan met his gaze calmly and said with a faint smile, don't you think you're asking for too much? Hua Xiaofeng trembled all over. He had already tasted a little blood in his mouth. He lowered his head and was silent for a long time. Then he reluctantly said, I know the truth about my grandparents' deaths. As long as you help me complete what I just said, I will tell you. Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed slightly. The confident expression on his face suddenly froze at this moment. Chapter 720. A strange silence spread throughout the hall. Even Uncle Zhang, who had been standing guard at the side, couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. After the initial shock, Su Yiyan quickly calmed down. Her eyes were slightly cold as she frowned and said, Grandpa, Grandma, are you talking about Chen Huan's parents? Didn't Chen Huan's parents pass away in an accident? Hua Xiaofeng sneered and said sarcastically, how can there be so many accidents in this world? Even someone as calm as Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel nervous the moment she heard his words. You mean that Chen Huan's parents didn't pass away in an accident, but were killed by someone? Who? Hua Xiaofeng looked up at Su Yiyan and chuckled. Are you trying to gain something without risking anything? Do you think I'm that stupid? Su Yiyan thought to herself, in my heart, you really are that stupid. However, she only replied, how do I know if you're telling the truth? Whether it's true or not, you'll naturally have to investigate it yourself. Do you think you'll believe me just because I say it? I've already shown you my greatest sincerity. Now it's your turn. Hua Xiaofeng's attitude was very clear. This was already all his trump cards. If he told them now, what would he use to play with? Since they were both on guard against each other, then it would depend on whose trump card was more valuable and how much help they could provide to the other. Of course, Su Yiyan couldn't promise him too much just because of this specious statement. However, if she really rejected him, what if Hua Xiaofeng really knew something? I can't make this decision alone. When Chen Huan comes back, I'll tell him and give you an answer then. Su Yiyan didn't reject him on the spot. For Hua Xiaofeng, this was already a good result. However, when he heard her words, he couldn't help but say out of habit, didn't you say that he loves you very much? Why don't you even have the right to make such a small decision? Do you still need to ask him? Pay attention to your words. You have to ask him if he wants to cooperate with you. You don't have to ask him if he wants to reject you on the spot. Su Yiyan coldly glanced at Hua Xiaofeng and warned, don't forget who is begging whom now. Uncle Zhang, see them out. Hua Xiaofeng was infuriated by Su Yiyan's attitude. He didn't even wait for Uncle Zhang and the others to chase him away politely. He turned around and left. However, after he walked out of the family Hua, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and turned around to take a deep look at the house. Many emotions flashed through his eyes. In the end, he didn't say anything and quickly left. When Hua Chenhuan found out that Hua Xiaofeng had come to his house to look for his wife, he rushed home as fast as he could. Su Yiyan was not surprised by Hua Chenhuan's early return. She smiled faintly and said, "If the boss takes the lead and skips work, what will happen if his subordinates follow suit? They won't dare." Hua Chenhuan looked Su Yiyan up and down. When he was sure that she and the children were fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. Even if they don't dare, they can't lead this bad example. As punishment, you will make dumplings with the chef at home tonight. Tomorrow, bring them to the company as an apology to the employees you stood up. Okay. Hua Chenhuan agreed without thinking. He reached out and pulled Su Yiyan into his arms. He sighed and said, "I was worried when I heard that Hua Xiaofeng came to look for you." "What are you worried about?" "There are so many people at home. What can he do to me?" Su Yiyan looked up at Hua Chenhuan and chuckled. "Are you jealous that I met with him alone?" Chapter 721. Although he didn't say anything about her engagement with Hua Xiaofeng, he had always been concerned about it. At that time, he was so self-conscious that he didn't even dare to say that he liked her because of his health. In the end, she was the one who took the initiative to win him over. Now he was jealous. Really, Hua Chenhuan was exposed, and he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He tried to change the topic. "What did you talk about? Didn't they tell you what we talked about?" Su Yiyan was referring to Uncle Zhang and the bodyguards at home. In addition to protecting her, these people also reported her situation at home to Hua Chenhuan in detail every day. Su Yiyan knew that he was worried about her, so she didn't reject it. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment and whispered, "I want to hear it from you." "Actually, we didn't talk about anything. It's just..." Su Yiyan simply repeated what Hua Xiaofeng said and asked curiously, "What did Hua Qihan do to make Hua Xiaofeng angry?" "He actually forced Hua Xiaofeng to come to us for cooperation. I've lived a long life." It had to be said that Hua Xiaofeng suddenly came to them to talk about cooperation. Su Yiyan was indeed a little scared. She couldn't tell what was wrong. She just felt that she had been following the family drama for a long time with great interest. She didn't know why she suddenly missed several episodes. When she watched again, she couldn't understand a lot of things. A corner dog will do something desperate. A corner dog will do something desperate? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. What did he do? He drove Hua Xiaofeng and his mother out and hired a group of people to assassinate them. Su Yiyan was shocked. She thought that it was shocking enough to hear Hua Xiaofeng say that he wanted to cooperate with them to kill Hua Qihan. She didn't expect. Is he crazy? No matter what, Hua Xiaofeng and his mother are still his wife and children. Even if he no longer has feelings for them, he doesn't have to kill them all. Hua Chenhuan was actually a little confused about this matter. Based on her understanding of Hua Qihan, it stood to reason that he would not be so ruthless. If he really had such courage, he wouldn't have been stuck in the same spot all these years and led the Hua Corporation to rely on its original assets. Wait, Su Yiyan frowned. Could it be that what Hua Xiaofeng said was true? He really has evidence of Hua Qihan's crimes. This is the only explanation. When Su Yiyan said this, he subconsciously raised his head and glanced at Hua Chenhuan. He deliberated and said, "Actually, other than what I just said, he also said something else." "What?" "He said that he knew the truth behind your parents' death." As soon as Su Yiyan said this, Hua Chenhuan's face darkened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Yiyan's heart trembled. She braced herself and asked tentatively, "Uncle, didn't Dad and Mom die in an accident?" "No." Unexpectedly, although Hua Chenhuan's expression was ugly, he still answered Su Yiyan's question. "Their car was tampered with." Su Yiyan was shocked. Tampered with? Who was it? Hua Chenhuan shook his head. At that time, his parents had died one after another, and the whole family was in a mess. He himself was in such a terrible state that he had no energy to investigate whether the tragedy was an accident or man-made. When he recovered a little and realized that there was something fishy about it, the relevant traces had basically been erased. The dead told no tales. Chapter 722. If it weren't for the clues in the test report, perhaps even he himself would think that it was an unavoidable accident. Su Yiyan couldn't help but reach out to hold his hand and comfort him. It's okay. We'll find it sooner or later. Then he thought of Hua Xiaofeng's words. Does Hua Xiaofeng really know something? Before you came back, I didn't know much about this matter. I didn't refuse or agree to his good intentions. I only said that I would discuss it with you when you came back. Do you want to ask him? Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly, and he nodded. I'll deal with this matter. You just focus on taking care of the baby. I'm here for you. Su Yiyan knew that Hua Chenhuan didn't want him to be involved in this matter, so he didn't continue to ask and nodded obediently. Hua Chenhuan smiled slightly and touched Su Yiyan's face, which had finally gained some weight. There was a smile in his eyes. By the way, my uncle is coming back. Your uncle? Su Yiyan blinked and looked surprised. When? In a few days, he may come to see you. See me? Su Yiyan's heart suddenly thumped, and he looked flustered. Do I need to prepare anything? Is there anything your uncle doesn't want to talk about? Do I need to pay attention to anything? Don't be nervous. He's just coming to see you. He won't do anything to you. Su Yiyan wasn't comforted at all. Instead, he stared at Hua Chenhuan for a long time and said carefully, Are you not on good terms with him? Hua Chenhuan was slightly stunned. Why do you ask? You haven't mentioned him before. The last time you mentioned him, you didn't seem to want to talk about it. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a long time after hearing that, and then he said in a hoarse voice, It's not that we don't have a good relationship, but there are some contradictions. Contradictions? My uncle was originally a special member of a special department who specialized in dangerous work. Most of the people he came into contact with were the most vicious people in the world. The only time Hua Chenhuan mentioned her uncle in front of Su Yiyan was when she was worried that Hai-E Entertainment would maliciously compete with Luo Baoging and his wife in order to suppress Dong Cheng. At that time, when Hua Chenhuan mentioned him, although it was only a few words, Su Yiyan still felt that this uncle whom he had never met before was not a simple person. He just didn't expect him to have such an identity. Back then, when my parents passed away, he rushed back as soon as he received the news and gave me a document. Information? Yes, it was this document that let me know that my parents didn't die in an accident. Then, my uncle tried his best to find out the truth, but he accidentally discovered that his enemy seemed to be involved in this matter. Su Yiyan was stunned, and immediately understood what Hua Chenhuan meant. Due to the special nature of her uncle's profession, it was inevitable that he would provoke some terrible enemies. These enemies couldn't do anything to him, so it was very likely that they would make a move on his family. I was young at that time, and because of what happened to my parents, I was quite depressed. After I found out about it, I had a one-sided argument with him. When Su Yiyan heard this, she hugged his waist and curled up in his arms, trying to give him warmth with her body temperature. When the family Hua's accident happened, Hua Chenhuan was only in his teens. He suddenly lost his parents, and not long after, he found out that his parents' tragedy was most likely caused by another relative. It was a double blow. Chapter 723. Hua Chenhuan hugged Su Yiyan back inside. I blamed him for my parents' deaths and thought that he was the one who killed them. Later, he quit his job and went abroad alone. Maybe he knew that I hated him, so he never came back. Hua Chenhuan lowered his head and met Su Yiyan's distressed gaze. He said self-mockingly, Do you think I'm being unreasonable? Obviously, you can't blame him for this at all. Not to mention that they couldn't be sure whether this matter was really caused by the enemies of Hua Chenhuan's uncle. Even if it was, they shouldn't blame Hua Chenhuan's uncle. Hua Chenhuan also knew this, so he regretted it after he calmed down. However, at that time there was already a psychological problem. It was as if he had walked into a dead end and blindly went into a dead end. He thought that if his uncle wasn't in this line of work, he wouldn't have provoked these people. Would his parents and even himself not be the target of their revenge? Later, when he realized that he couldn't blame his uncle, he thought that if they hadn't rushed back to celebrate his birthday, those people wouldn't have found the opportunity to assassinate them. His uncle was responsible for his parents' deaths, but how could he not be responsible? When Su Yiyan heard his words, she immediately remembered what Uncle Zhang said to her that day. She subconsciously tightened her arms around Hua Chunhuan. You didn't do anything wrong. Uncle didn't do anything wrong. The people who are wrong are those who murdered your parents. Don't torture yourself with other people's mistakes. This will only fuel their arrogance and make the people who love you sad. Hua Chunhuan was silent for a long time after hearing this. Then he chuckled and said, You're right. You just said that he never came back after he went abroad. Then the hotel you mentioned last time. Uncle's businesses are mostly overseas, but they cover a wide range. He also cooperates with domestic companies. And the hotel isn't the only business under his name. The people I sent to protect Luo Baogang were basically his people. Hua Chunhuan paused and said in a low voice, After he resigned, he took most of his men with him. However, he trained another group of people to protect me. Su Yiyan was stunned. He's worried that those people will come back to take revenge if they know that you're not dead? Yes. Su Yiyan was worried that the uncle and nephew didn't have a good relationship and that she would be stuck in the middle. Now, it seemed that one was still worried about his nephew even when he was hiding abroad. Even if he was blamed, he still put his nephew's safety first. In fact, the other one had long regretted his actions. However, after such a long time, coupled with his pride, he didn't know how to break the deadlock. How about this? When Uncle comes back, I'll personally cook a welcome banquet for him. Everyone can have a meal together and talk. They were all family. How could there be any overnight grudges? It's been so long. It's time to let it go. Su Yiyan suddenly asked, Your mother's relationship with your uncle should be good, right? Yes, they have a good relationship. That's right. If your mother was still here, she wouldn't want to see the two of you like this. Hua Chunhuan's eyes flickered. She replied in a low voice. Yes. Then it's settled. Go and ask your uncle if he has any favorite dishes. Or what flavor of food he likes. I'll prepare them in advance. Chapter 724. Su Yiyan said this deliberately to give Hua Chunhuan a reason to take the initiative to talk to his uncle. Hua Chunhuan knew this, but she didn't say anything. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows, but she didn't intend to let him go so easily. What? I'm pregnant now, and my body is cumbersome. Can't I order you around? She pretended to be angry, but she didn't forget to use the baby in her belly to add weight. She was really a clever little girl. Hua Chunhuan looked at her and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He did not remember to hesitate or be in a difficult position. Naturally, he agreed to any request. Okay. I'll ask when I have time. No, I want to know my uncle's preferences tomorrow. If you can't complete the task, you'll sleep in the guest room tomorrow night. In order to prevent someone from disobeying, Su Yiyan went all out. Sure enough, when Hua Chunhuan heard the words, sleep in the guest room, her eyes turned cold, and her face became serious. Okay, honey. I promise to complete the task. That's more like it. Su Yiyan nodded with satisfaction. When she was about to say something, Hua Chunhuan's phone suddenly rang. Hua Chunhuan glanced at the screen, and her eyes flashed. She picked up the phone in front of Su Yiyan. After a few words, Hua Chunhuan's face darkened quickly. What's wrong? Hua Chunhuan hung up the phone. Ling Xiaoqi. Something happened. What? Slow down. Ling Xiaoqi was still in shock. When she got out of the car with a pale face, she saw Su Yiyan running out with an obvious belly. Hua Chunhuan was beside her, anxiously protecting her to prevent her from falling. Yen, Ling Xiaoqi seemed to have found her backbone and took the initiative to hug Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan saw that Ling Xiaoqi came back safe and sound with her own eyes. She was relieved, but she still said nervously, I heard from Chunhuan that the man went to find you and had a conflict with you. Are you hurt anywhere? Ling Xiaoqi let go of Su Yiyan and shook her head. I'm fine. I'm not hurt. This time, thanks to someone's help, I'm fine. I didn't suffer any losses. Hua Chunhuan was worried about Su Yiyan's health, so she reminded her, it's cold at night. Let's talk inside. Yes. Let's talk inside. Are you scared? I'll ask the kitchen to prepare some calming tea for you. Why don't you stay here for the night and go back tomorrow morning? As Su Yiyan spoke, He was about to pull Ling Xiaoqi inside when he unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. President Ning? The man who came out from the other side of Ling Xiaoqi's car was actually the young master of the Ning family, Ning Xiyuan? How did you? Ling Xiaoqi saw Su Yiyan's reaction and knew that they did know each other. She said embarrassedly, Yan. He helped me just now. Him? Su Yiyan's eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't understand how these two people were related. A few minutes later, a group of people sat in the living room of the family Hua's old house and listened to Ling Xiaoqi talk about what happened not long ago. At that time it happened too suddenly. Those people suddenly pounced on me, and I was also shocked. Fortunately, the bodyguards reacted quickly and surrounded me in time to protect me. But he brought too many people with him. The bodyguards had to stop them and protect me at the same time. It was really not easy. Fortunately, Mr. Ning appeared in time and helped to drive them away. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. Chapter 725. That's too much. Su Yiyan had expected that someone would shamelessly snatch her away if pushed too far. However, she was still infuriated by someone's shamelessness. They dare to snatch people so brazenly in front of so many people. Are they sure that the Qin clan is omnipotent and no one can do anything to them? Su Yiyan was so angry that Hua Chenhuan was beside her to calm her down. She was afraid that she would lose her head in anger and hurt herself and the child in her belly. She quickly changed the topic to Ning Xiyuan. President Ning, what brings you to East City today? I'm here to look for Chirue. He's been busy with work these days and hasn't been home for a few days. My parents are worried that he's recovering from a serious illness and can't take it, so they asked me to take the time to visit him. I didn't expect to see Miss Ling surrounded by a group of people when I arrived at your company's parking lot. Ning Xiyuan didn't expect that the person he saved would know Su Yiyan. Later, when he heard Ling Xiaoqi say that she wanted to call Su Yiyan, he realized that he had saved a friend of an acquaintance. I see. Su Yiyan was both angry and relieved. She sighed in relief and said, President Ning, thank you so much for your help this time. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to my friend. Miss Su, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Even if it was just a stranger who encountered such a situation, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing, not to mention that Miss Ling is your friend. You've helped our family so much before. You're our benefactor. It's my honor to be able to help you now. Su Yiyan knew that Ning Xiyuan was talking about Ning Chirue's illness and his own asthma. She laughed dryly and felt a little guilty. After all, when she decided to treat them in the first place, her intentions weren't that simple. Ling Xiaoqi was surprised and confused when she heard Ning Xiyuan's words. Why did it sound like Su Yiyan had helped their family a lot? Well, no matter what, I still want to thank you. I owe you a favor. If you need anything in the future, as long as it's within my power, just let me know. Ning Xiyuan's eyes lit up. Su Yiyan's promise was more sincere than any gratitude. Su Yiyan thought about it carefully and still felt a little scared. He did this because he was driven to desperation and didn't care about anything else. You'd better not go out for the next few days. Fortunately, President Ning was here today. Otherwise, you would probably be on your way to see City by now. Yeah. When Ling Xiaoqi thought of Qin Fengda's hideous and ugly appearance when he shed all pretense of cordiality, she felt somewhat upset. Although her mother had never hidden anything about Qin Fengda, and she didn't have a good impression of her father since she was young, her imagination was still a little different from reality. Seeing this person's true appearance with her own eyes, Ling Xiaoqi was still a little shocked, and she felt a little uncomfortable. What kind of monster did her mother encounter back then? Su Yiyan could roughly guess what was on her mind when she saw her expression. She secretly cursed that some scum really didn't deserve to be a parent. Let's not talk about him. I'm afraid you've had quite a scare today. Sleep well tonight and you'll be fine when you wake up tomorrow. Su Yiyan paused and said coldly, You don't have to worry about that man. Since he dared to do this, he can't blame us for being rude to him. Yeah. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiaoqi's eyes. What he did today, if we call the police, can we arrest him? Chapter 726. Su Yiyan was stunned. He didn't expect Ling Xiaoqi to be so resolute that she wanted to send someone to the police station. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's a little difficult. You're related to him by blood after all. If you really call the police, he can say that he had a conflict with a rebellious child. Although his behavior is a little extreme, it's understandable. It's also difficult for the people there. In the end, they can at most treat it as a family dispute and mediate. They won't really do anything to him. Nowadays, girls walking on the road were robbed by human traffickers. After being caught, they would lie and say that they mistakenly thought that the other party was their girlfriend to get away with it. Not to mention that Ling Xiaoqi and Qin Fengde were father and daughter by blood. As long as they didn't kill each other, it would be difficult to report or manage. Ling Xiaoqi actually knew this, but she was a little unwilling. Some parents were not as reliable as strangers. She knew that the other party was here to harm her. Just because they were related by blood, she was completely in a passive state. How unfair was that? However, since she had asked such a question, it could be seen that she really wanted to draw a line with the other party completely. Okay, don't be angry. Although we can't call the police to arrest him, it's not impossible to make him suffer if you really want to. You've been frightened today. Have a good rest first. Tomorrow, we'll have a good discussion and help you vent your anger. Okay. Su Yiyan saw that she gradually calmed down and smiled faintly. You can stay with us tonight and go back tomorrow. Ling Xiaoqi shook her head. No, I've moved out. He doesn't know where I live now. Besides, Hua is still at home. I don't feel at ease leaving it alone at home. Then you be careful alone, Su Yiyan said and turned to look at Hua Chenhuan. Hua Chenhuan immediately understood. I'll call a few more people to guard you. Don't worry. Ling Xiaoqi's heart was warmed. She nodded and accepted the couple's kindness. Ling Xiaoqi got up to leave. Ning Xiyuan also stood up. I should go back to find Chirue, so I won't bother you anymore. The group of people left the family Hua one after another. Su Yiyan's gaze followed them all the way out. From afar, she saw that Ning Xiyuan seemed to have said something to Ling Xiaoqi, and the two of them got into the same car just like how they came. Su Yiyan. What's wrong? Hua Chenhuan noticed that Su Yiyan had been staring at them with a strange expression. Do you feel that Ning Xiyuan's attitude towards our Xiaoqi isn't right? Is there? No. The two of them stared at each other for a while before Su Yiyan coughed softly and said, Maybe it's just my imagination. Although she said that, Su Yiyan's sixth sense had already begun to warn her. She felt that something important was gradually leaving her. Qin Fengde didn't manage to kidnap Ling Xiaoqi and go back to Sea City with him. He also understood that after this incident, the so-called illusion of fatherly love and filial piety in his heart was completely shattered. After returning to the hotel, he lost his temper and smashed everything in his room. He also asked someone to find out who Ling Xiaoqi's bodyguards and the man who ran out to help in the end were. He had already checked. Ling Xiaoqi was single and had been living a hard life with her mother these years. It was impossible for her to know anyone with a big background. Why did so many special factors suddenly appear that he couldn't control? It was really disappointing. Chapter 727. Qin Fengde would never have guessed that it was not that Ling Xiaoqi did not have friends who could protect her, but that she had been used to relying on herself all these years and rarely asked for help from friends. She had known Su Yiyan for so long, but the only time she had asked her for help was when her mother had suddenly fallen ill and needed to be hospitalized for surgery. Unfortunately, even though she had borrowed money from Su Yiyan, her mother had passed away not long after the surgery. Not long after that, Ling Xiaoqi quickly pulled herself together and worked hard to earn money. Finally, she managed to repay all the money she owed Su Yiyan before she returned to China. Qin Fengde had yet to achieve his goal, and he was in a state where he could explode at any time. He was even thinking about how to forcibly bring her home. However, his ideas were destined to never be put into practice. When Qin Fengde sent someone to investigate Ling Xiaoqi and Ning Xiyuan, a phone call from City C ruined all his plans. No one knew what was said on the other end of the phone call. All they knew was that Qin Fengde rushed back to City C that very night and was flustered to deal with all kinds of attacks from his nephews. Even if he managed to hold on, he would definitely be severely injured. It would be impossible for him to cause trouble in front of Ling Xiaoqi in a short period of time. Su Yiyan was very satisfied when she found out. It was fine if Qin Fengde stayed obediently in City C, but if he dared to touch City A again, she would be the first to chop off his claws, even without Hua Chenhuan. After chasing Qin Fengde back to City C, Su Yiyan's hanging heart was temporarily at ease. She focused on preparing for Hua Chenhuan's uncle's welcome banquet. Hua Chenhuan's uncle's surname was Zhang, and his name was Zhang Qianyang. He looked to be in his early 50s, and he was a very handsome and familiar man. The moment Su Yiyan saw him, she understood why her mother had always said that her nephew was Uncle Xiao. Zhang Qianyang looked like a middle-aged version of Hua Chenhuan. The two of them were at least 60 to 70% alike. However, compared to Hua Chenhuan, this powerful figure, who had properties all over the world and had once worked in a special department, looked more weathered and dignified. Just by standing there, his entire body was filled with a chilling aura that kept people thousands of miles away. Hua Chenhuan would never act like this in front of her. Therefore, in Su Yiyan's eyes, the original 60 to 70% resemblance between the two of them was only 50%. While Su Yiyan was sizing up Su Yiyan, Zhang Qianyang was also very curious about his niece-in-law. Yan, right? Hello, I'm Chenhuan's uncle. If you don't mind, you can also call me uncle. Su Yiyan could see Zhang Qianyang's restraint. She guessed that he still hadn't gotten over what had happened that year. In front of Hua Chenhuan, there was always some awkwardness and helplessness. She smiled and said obediently, "Hello, uncle. It must have been hard on you. I specially prepared some food, but I don't know if it's to your liking. It's not early now. Why don't we have a meal first? We can talk later." When Zhang Qianyang heard Su Yiyan's words, he was also stunned. He couldn't help but remember that Hua Chenhuan had suddenly sent him a message a few days ago, asking if he had any special preferences. At that time, Zhang Qianyang was pleasantly surprised and at a loss. He couldn't figure out what Hua Chenhuan's intention was. Later, he suddenly remembered that the people around Hua Chenhuan seemed to have mentioned that his niece-in-law often cooked and was very good at it. He could roughly guess who had asked him to ask this question. Chapter 728. However, Zhang Qianyang wasn't very particular about food. In addition, he was usually busy with work and basically drank nutrient solutions with his subordinates, so he casually replied. He thought that Hua Chenhuan was just asking casually, but now, listening to his niece-in-law's tone, it seemed like she had really specially prepared a welcome banquet for him. Uncle Zhang saw the embarrassment and awkwardness of the uncle and niece. When he heard Su Yiyan's words, he smiled and said, "Young madam's culinary skills can't even compare to the family chef. Mr. Zhang is in for a treat today." Uncle Zhang was an old man who had served the family Hua for many years, so he naturally knew Zhang Qianyang. Hearing him say this, Zhang Qianyang's inexplicably tense expression finally relaxed a little, and he replied in a low voice, "Yes." What Zhang Qianyang didn't know was that his casual reply back then had only been conveyed to Su Yiyan by his straight-laced nephew. He was not picky about food. This perfunctory reply made Su Yiyan so angry that she laughed. In a fit of anger, she sent Hua Chenhuan to sleep in the guest room for 2 days. Hua Chenhuan, who had been alone in an empty room for 2 days and hadn't slept well, looked at the big table of dishes and Zhang Qianyang's gaze, which faintly revealed a deep and cold light. Zhang Qianyang. Zhang Qianyang, who was inexplicably despised, would never have thought that his tragedy stemmed from a casual remark he made a few days ago. He only thought that Hua Chenhuan's attitude toward him was because she still couldn't let go of what happened in the past, so he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and sad. Soon, Zhang Qianyang didn't have the energy to be sad and think about the depressing past. The most distressing thing in the world was the word, casual. Su Yiyan hesitated for a few days, and when she thought about balding, she finally decided to bring out the almighty Mandarin duck hot pot. Unlike Hua Chenhuan, this was the first time that Zhang Qianyang had seen such a novel way of eating. Pointing at the billowing two-colored soup base, he asked curiously, This is called hot pot. It's a type of food from ancient Earth. The red and white soups had different tastes, so the cooked food would naturally taste different as well. Because I didn't know your taste in advance, and I didn't know your preferences and taboos, I prepared this. I hope you don't mind. Of course, Another main reason was that Hua Chenhuan couldn't bear to see Su Yiyan running around with a big belly. It didn't take much time or effort to prepare a table full of dishes. The most suitable dish was hot pot. Su Yiyan had made hot pot once before. At that time, they didn't have a double hot pot, so they could only split it into 2 pots and cook it together. Later, when she saw that Gu Xiaoyang and the others liked to eat hot pot, she mentioned that they could organize department gatherings from time to time to communicate. The best way to have a meal together was to eat hot pot. It was convenient to satisfy most people's tastes. For convenience, they could make a double hot pot like this. The 2 flavors could be combined into 1 pot, and a table full of rich flavors could be eaten in 1 pot. When Gu Xiaoyang and the others heard Su Yiyan's words, they were very excited. When they went back, they asked people to prepare several double hot pots for them. They planned to buy ready-made hot pot base from the restaurant in the future for team building. Of course, they didn't forget to send 1 hot pot over. The double hot pot on the table was sent by Gu Xiaoyang and the others. Su Yiyan demonstrated how to eat hot pot in front of Zhang Qianyang. She also mentioned that a few dishes didn't need to be cooked for too long, and that they wouldn't taste good if they were too old. Then, she let him do it himself. Zhang Qianyang watched for a while and then joined the hot pot team in high spirits. He learned how to cook all kinds of ingredients by himself. Chapter 729. As it turned out, people who looked like each other might have similar tastes as well. Hua Chenhuan liked to eat spicy food, so she usually only ate the spicy side of the hot pot. Zhang Qianyang was the same. At first, he was a little resistant to the bright red spicy hot pot and only ate the clear soup side. Later, he saw that his nephew kept eating the chili oil side. He hesitated for a while and tried to cook a piece of tripe in the chili oil side. At first, he was a little uncomfortable when it entered his mouth. After drinking a few mouthfuls of water, he felt that although the taste was stimulating, the aftertaste was quite strong. Out of curiosity, Zhang Qianyang tried a few more mouthfuls. The result was predictable. After experiencing the wonders of the chili oil, a certain someone no longer reached for the clear soup. He ate until he was sweating, but his hands did not slow down at all. Su Yiyan saw this scene and felt that the uncle and nephew were more and more alike. She could not help but smile a little more. Zhang Qianyang ate for a while and looked up at the 2 people opposite him. His expression was a little absent-minded for a moment. Su Yiyan was pregnant and could not eat spicy food, so she could only eat the clear soup. Hua Chenhuan watched her from the side and even helped her cook. Sometimes she would even feed her. Occasionally, Su Yiyan would covet the other side and stare at Hua Chenhuan for a while, and Hua Chenhuan's heart would soften. She would cook 1 or 2 things and put them in her bowl to mix with the clear soup. When it was less spicy, she would bring it to Su Yiyan's mouth and watch her eat. One was very happy to be fed, and the other was also very happy to be fed, completely forgetting that there was another person at the table. Zhang Qianyang looked at the 2 of them and could not help but think of when his sister and brother-in-law were still alive. His brother-in-law also took care of his sister in everything. No matter what he did, he would remember to take care of his sister first before thinking of himself. The 2 of them had a very good relationship, so every time he visited, he felt relieved and envious. He always hoped that one day he could have such a happy family. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined because of him. Uncle. When Su Yiyan finished eating, she looked up and saw that Zhang Qianyang was in a daze and had not moved his chopsticks for a long time. She asked nervously, "Is it not to your liking? Do you want the kitchen to make something else?" Zhang Qianyang seemed to have woken up from a dream. No, this hot pot is delicious. It's the first time I've eaten something so delicious. Especially the red side, I wasn't used to it at first, but now I think it's getting better and better. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh when she heard what he said. Chili was something that could be grown quickly. The research institute had already planted a batch of them, and they tasted similar to the ones from Su Yiyan's farm. However, it would take some time for it to be on the market. This should be Zhang Qianyang's first time coming into contact with such a thing. His reaction was similar to that of Hua Chenhuan. It seems that uncle's taste is similar to Chenhuan's. He also likes spicy food. As soon as she said this, the 2 men at the dinner table were stunned. Their eyes inadvertently met, and there seemed to be something that wasn't there before. Su Yiyan pretended not to see it. She smiled and reminded them, although this chili oil soup is delicious, you can't eat too much. It's easy to get heady. Uncle, remember to drink some of this 3-flower tea later. It's good for cooling down. When Zhang Qianyang heard this, he was even more touched by Su Yiyan's thoughtfulness. He was also happy that his nephew had good taste and married such a considerate wife. With Su Yiyan mediating between them, the atmosphere at the dinner table gradually warmed up. Zhang Qianyang also had some confidence to ask about the two's situation. How old is the child? Almost 6 months. Do you know whether it's a boy or a girl? I don't know yet. Chapter 730. Su Yiyan turned to look at Hua Chenhuan and smiled. We all think that it's the same whether it's a boy or a girl. Just let nature take its course. Zhang Qianyang nodded. He had just asked casually and did not mean anything else. It was fine as long as the two of them knew what they were talking about. By the time Zhang Qianyang arrived, it was already dark. It was already late after dinner. Su Yiyan knew that Zhang Qianyang had a house in the city, but it was a little far from where they lived. Even if he went back now, the house might not have been cleaned beforehand for him to move in immediately. Hence, he took advantage of the situation and invited Zhang Qianyang to stay at his house. They would be under the same roof and they would see each other frequently. Sooner or later, he would be able to resolve the awkward relationship between the two of them. Zhang Qianyang did not intend to stay, but when he heard that Su Yiyan wanted him to stay temporarily, he subconsciously glanced at Hua Chenhuan. Seeing that he didn't object, she unexpectedly agreed as if she was at the mercy of gods and devils. Considering that Zhang Qianyang must be tired from the long journey, Su Yiyan asked Uncle Zhang to take him upstairs to rest after dinner. Uncle Zhang was obviously very happy with Zhang Qianyang's arrival. The smile on his face did not fade at all. He led Zhang Qianyang to the guest room that had been prepared beforehand. Uncle Zhang did not forget to smile and say, "This is the room that young master and young madam specially prepared for you. The basic daily necessities are all in there. If you need anything else, you can let me know. I will do my best to help you. Thank you for your hard work." "You're welcome, sir. If there's nothing else, you should rest early." Zhang Qianyang nodded. Just as he was about to close the door, he heard Uncle Zhang call out, "Sir, is there anything else?" Uncle Zhang looked at the familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar man who had been away from home for more than 10 years. He said sincerely, "Welcome home." Zhang Qianyang's whole body trembled, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the door handle. His eyes revealed a rare hint of emotion. Zhang Qianyang was no stranger to the guest room of the family Hua mansion. When Hua Chenhuan's parents were still alive, he often stayed over. Even when Hua Chenhuan was just born, there was a period of time when the two adults were rather busy. Moreover, due to their old age and lack of energy, he was the one who helped take care of her. Zhang Qianyang walked around the room, and his gaze suddenly fell on the photo placed on the bedside table. It was a group photo of the four of them. The corners of the photo were slightly yellowed. It should have been found recently and seen the light of day again. The four people in the photo were Hua Chenhuan's parents, Hua Chenhuan when she was still a child, and himself when he was young. This photo was taken on Hua Chenhuan's 5th birthday, and it was also the only photo of the four of them. He didn't expect it to be found and placed in this room. Looking at the photo, Zhang Qianyang thought about the peaceful dinner tonight and the words Uncle Zhang had said before he left. The mask on Zhang Qianyang's face was peeling off bit by bit, and his eyes reddened uncontrollably. After an unknown period of time, a vague and hoarse voice vaguely came from the spacious but dense room. "Sister, brother-in-law, I'm back." Zhang Qianyang was a little emotional because of the photo in the room. Little did he know that in another room about 10 meters away from him, his nephew was also being criticized and educated by his wife. "You behaved badly today. I have to educate you properly." "How did I behave badly today?" Hua Chenhuan didn't have the good virtue of knowing that she was wrong. She even slyly leaned over to Su Yiyan and kissed her. She said meaningfully, "Also, how are you going to educate me?" Chapter 731. Su Yiyan blushed and glared at Hua Chenhuan angrily. She was determined not to be seduced by a certain someone's beauty. "What did I tell you before? It's rare for Uncle to come, so we have to treat him well. Besides, you were also at fault for what happened back then. You're a junior, so you have to speak first to ease the tension. But you... Su Yiyan snorted coldly. She was a little angry. When Zhang Qianyang came today, Hua Chenhuan held back for a long time and didn't say more than 3 words. She was the one who dealt with it the whole time. Did this uncle belong to her alone? She really couldn't have this husband anymore. Hua Chenhuan also knew that she was in the wrong. She touched her nose awkwardly and said, I also wanted to speak first, but... Hua Chenhuan was silent. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and said, You can't speak. Hua Chenhuan felt guilty under her gaze. He coughed softly and said, He doesn't seem to want to talk to me, but he has a lot to say to you. Su Yiyan was very familiar with this sour tone. She almost laughed out of anger. She hadn't even said anything, but this guy was actually blaming her. Look at your cold face, as if someone owes you millions. Who wouldn't be afraid in front of you? Su Yiyan couldn't help but roll her eyes. She said in disappointment, Besides, Uncle is an elder. Do you expect him to apologize to you first? Or are you still blaming him in your heart, thinking that he harmed your parents? No. Then why are you still like this? Hua Chenhuan pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Su Yiyan guessed his thoughts. Sometimes, the more you don't speak, the more you can't speak. If you lack the opportunity and courage, you can't kick the door open. You can only wait. Can't you be a good role model for our baby? It's fine if it's a girl, but if it's a boy who's as pretentious and two-faced as you, which girl will be willing to marry him in the future? Hua Chenhuan stared blankly for a moment, then said proudly, I married you. The hidden meaning was that no matter how much I said I didn't mean it, didn't I still marry the best? My son will definitely be able to marry a good woman like me in the future. Don't worry. She was obviously speaking in a disdainful tone, yet this fellow was actually feeling proud of himself. Su Yiyan was both angry and amused. That's because I'm thick-skinned. If it were other girls, they would have been scared away by your initial words. Thinking back to the first time they met alone, what did this guy say to her? What kind of leg can only be like this for the rest of my life, and I won't be able to have children in the future? He was so honest that it was infuriating. If it wasn't for the fact that she was already dead set on marrying him, if it were any other girl, she might have really been scared away. Marrying a wife? Dream on. Is that so? Hua Chenhuan obviously also thought of the words he said to Su Yiyan when she first came to the old mansion. His eyes flashed, and he immediately leaned over, hugged Su Yiyan, and kissed her fiercely. Of course, this so-called kiss lasted a little long. When he let go, Su Yiyan's little face was still as red as a ripe peach. Humph! Don't think that you can fool me by using your handsome man today. If you still do this tomorrow, you'll continue to sleep in the guest room for the next few days. The smile on Hua Chenhuan's face suddenly froze. He thought dangerously in his heart. Sure enough, the kiss didn't last long enough. How could she still be in the mood to think about this? Chapter 732. When Su Yiyan was still in the Su family, she was a veritable princess. Even if the decisions she made were not immediately accepted, they would definitely be realized in the end. This fine tradition was perfectly passed down by Hua Chenhuan. The next morning, Su Yiyan got up early and had breakfast. She used the excuse of going to Ling Xiaoqi's place to see the Hua and went out with the baby Hua, giving the uncle and nephew, who were still at odds with each other, some private space to resolve their conflict. The gestation time of a dog was similar to that of a cat. Generally, a dog would give birth after 2 or 3 months. 10 days ago, the Hua gave birth to 3 cute corgi puppies. 1 baby Hua and 2 baby Dun. Su Yiyan liked the baby Hua very much. As soon as the puppies were born, she wanted to bring them home. However, considering that she was pregnant, it would not be easy to take care of them if she brought them home. So she left them at Ling Xiaoqi's place. In a few months, when Su Yiyan gave birth to the babies, these puppies would also grow up. Then, she would bring them home to accompany her babies. After Su Yiyan left, there was no one to smooth things over. The 2 men, who looked similar, sat in the hall and stared at each other, unable to say anything for a long time. Uncle Zhang was anxious and wanted to laugh at the same time. However, when he thought of Su Yiyen's instructions before she left, no matter how anxious he was, he did not step forward to smooth things over. The two of them sat like this for a long time. In the end, it was Zhang Qianyang who broke the silence first. Your injury was treated by Yan Yan. It was not a question, but a confirmation. It meant that even if he was abroad, he had been paying attention to Hua Chenhuan's movements. He was not completely ignoring him. Hua Chenhuan naturally knew this. When he was first injured, he did not have the ability to protect himself. If it were not for the people Zhang Qianyang left around him, he would have been killed by those demons and ghosts before he could really become strong. Yes. She's a good girl. She cured you and now, she's pregnant with your child. Zhang Qianyang knew that Hua Chenhuan was unlikely to have a child because of the accident. Apart from a few people, Zhang Qianyang knew about it as well. Back then, Hua Chenhuan's parents and Hua Chenhuan had met with an accident one after another. Hua Qihan's family could not be counted on. Their hospitalization procedures and follow-up treatment were basically handled by Zhang Qianyang himself. Zhang Qianyang knew better than anyone else what had happened to Hua Chenhuan at that time. Therefore, when Zhang Qianyang found out that Hua Chenhuan's new wife was pregnant, his first reaction was not joy, but shock and anger. He felt that Su Yiyen must have cheated on Hua Chenhuan for her to be able to get pregnant. Hua Chenhuan, who was made a cuckold out of the blue. Why does everyone think that I should be made a cuckold? Do you all have some misunderstanding about my personal charm? Fortunately, although Zhang Qianyang was angry, he did not act rashly. Instead, he first sent people to investigate the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyen. In the end, after half a month of investigation, he found that the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyen were either her company's employees or her employees' family members. Putting aside the employees, Hua Chenhuan was also present when several of her business partners met. It could be said that there was no loophole in all aspects. It was also at this time that Zhang Qianyang finally believed that not only had Hua Chenhuan's legs recovered, but he had also recovered from a certain injury. He even had a child with his wife. Hearing Zhang Qianyang praise Su Yiyen, Hua Chenhuan's tense expression eased a little. She said softly, "In my eyes, she's the best person in the world." Chapter 733. Zhang Qianyang noticed the change in Hua Chenhuan's expression. He was gratified, but also a little disappointed. After Hua Chenhuan's parents passed away, Hua Chenhuan was his only family in this world. Originally, the two of them depended on each other and treated each other as family. Now that Hua Chenhuan had his own happy little family, Zhang Qianyang was still all alone. It was inevitable that Zhang Qianyang would feel a little lonely. Hua Chenhuan seemed to have noticed the vulnerability that Zhang Qianyang inadvertently revealed. She suddenly realized that the man she had once admired and resented was no longer young. Time had not treated the man in front of her well. His sideburns had been stained with frost, and there were many wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. Perhaps in a few years, the straight back of the man in front of her would gradually become bent, and his mind would gradually become blurry. He would remember some people, but most of the time, he would forget some people. Realizing this, Hua Chenhuan suddenly felt that many things were not so important. Sorry. The words that had been in her mouth the day before, and she could not say no matter how hard she tried. The moment she said them, she realized that it did not seem as difficult as she had imagined. Zhang Qianyang was stunned for a few seconds before he realized what Hua Chenhuan had said. His eyes suddenly widened. Some things only needed to be said once the first sentence was said, and the rest would be much simpler. When my parents died, I lost control of my emotions and made trouble for no reason. I blamed their death on you. It was my fault. Zhang Qianyang's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously called out, "Chenhuan. Whether my parents' death was an accident or man-made, it doesn't matter. You were not the one who hurt them, and the one who needs to pay the price for atonement is not you." Zhang Qianyang was completely stunned. He hoped that he could restore his relationship with Hua Chenhuan and become family again, but he was also afraid that all this was just his wishful dream. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said with difficulty, "Do you really think so? You know, it's very likely that your parents were implicated by me." Hua Chenhuan stared at Zhang Qianyang for a long time and sighed softly. "I've thought about it for a long time. If my parents knew that they died because of you, would they blame you?" Zhang Qianyang's body stiffened, and his face suddenly turned pale. No. What? The answer is no. Hua Chunhuan said with absolute certainty. Even if they knew that their deaths might have something to do with you, even if they knew that those who harmed them might be your enemies, they would not blame you. In that case, what right do I have to blame you? No. You have the right to blame me. Chunhuan's eyes as a child. Was as a child. Hua Chunhuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was a hint of relief in his eyes. Yan said that you shouldn't punish yourself with other people's sins because it will only make the people who love you sad and the people who hurt you happy. I am, and so are you. Of course, Zhang Qianyang knew this. But sometimes, it was easy for people to walk into a dead end. Hua Chunhuan's hateful gaze back then had become a demon that had haunted him for many years. He would even suddenly wake up from his dreams in the middle of the night. After that, he would not be able to fall asleep again. He would sit there night after night until dawn. He wanted to come back, but he didn't dare to. He was afraid that he would meet his nephew's hateful gaze the moment he came back. But now this nephew whom he knew he owed a lot, was telling him that none of this was his fault, and that he had stopped blaming him a long time ago. Zhang Qianyang wanted to laugh, but before he could smile, his eyes had already turned red. Chapter 734. By the time Su Yiyan came back, the two of them had pretty much finished talking. After a frank and open discussion, the two of them who had untangled the knot in their hearts were no longer as reserved and awkward as before. Even though I've been away for the past few years, I roughly know a lot of things that have happened around you. I want to help you, but I'm worried that you'll still hate me and won't want my help. He could only secretly help her. Hua Chunhuan knew what he meant. Zhang Qianyang thought that no one knew about his little trick. But in reality, he had already discovered it a few years ago. He just didn't want to expose it. It was clearly just a thin layer of gauze. As long as one of them took the initiative to take a step forward, there would be a chance to turn things around. But no one was willing to be the first to take a step forward. I thought that you would never forgive me in this lifetime. I didn't expect that you would actually take the initiative to apologize to me. Zhang Qianyang knew Hua Chunhuan's temperament. Before this, he never thought that he would forgive him. Even if he did, given his temperament, he definitely wouldn't take the initiative to admit defeat. The best outcome Zhang Qianyang could think of was that the two of them wouldn't interfere with each other and would be strangers for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought? When Hua Chunhuan heard him say this, she looked up at him and said calmly, Yan said. When Zhang Qianyang heard these three words, his eyelids twitched for some reason. He had a feeling that there was a huge secret behind this. Sure enough, the next second, Hua Chunhuan said, if I don't talk to you properly, I'll have to sleep in the guest room for the next few days. Zhang Qianyang. After all this time, you're actually a henpecked husband? It's fine if you're a henpecked husband, but why do you sound so proud of yourself when you say this? It seems that a henpecked husband like you is quite proud of himself? Zhang Qianyang tried to hold it in, but he couldn't hold it in any longer. He said dryly, if your mom and dad knew that you were so obedient to your wife, they would be very pleased. How could Hua Chunhuan not hear the slight jealousy in her uncle's words? She glanced at him lightly and said, if my mom and dad knew that you were still alone at such an old age, they would definitely despise you. Zhang Qianyang. The single dog instantly received a critical hit from the couple. Uncle Zhang, who had been scolded by his junior, tried to save his dignity. I didn't want to look for it. Not that I couldn't find it. That was true. The Zheng family's business was overseas, and its scale was comparable to Hua Chunhuan's when her father was still alive. Therefore, when Hua Chunhuan's parents got married, it could be said that they were well matched in terms of social status. It was a much-told story. As the only heir of the Zheng family at that time, Zhang Qianyang was recognized as a young talent in the social circle. He was also handsome, so it was not hard to imagine how many rich girls secretly admired him and secretly wanted to marry him. However, Zhang Qianyang was young and rebellious. He didn't learn the playful habits of other rich playboys his age. Instead, he chose the most dangerous career. His family was furious, but they couldn't do anything about it. Zhang Qianyang didn't look for a girlfriend at first because he thought that he was too young. Moreover, what he was doing was dangerous, so he didn't want a girl to be with him and live in fear. He didn't know when she would lose her boyfriend and husband. Later, after the family Hua incident, Zhang Qianyang gave up on this idea. He went abroad to take over the Zhang family's business and set up his own international company. However, he still had to hide to avoid alerting the enemy. How could he be in the mood to date a woman and let her accompany him through the ups and downs of danger? Chapter 735. Hua Chenhuan obviously knew what Zhang Qianyang was thinking, but that didn't stop her from mocking him. Heh! Zhang Qianyang. Is this still my obedient and cute little nephew? Time is indeed a butcher's knife. Su Yiyan came back at this time. As soon as she entered, she saw uncle and nephew sitting in the living room, about 3 meters apart. One was dejected and the other was cold. What's going on? She had already made time for these two, so why did they still look so dead when they came back? No, they looked worse than before she left. So, did the two of them have a breakdown? Before Su Yiyan could think further, a loud stomach growl broke the awkward silence in the room. Zhang Qianyang's face turned red, but when he thought of the hot pot they had last night, soft and fragrant stewed taro, crisp and refreshing cucumbers, fresh and delicious seafood, plump and tender mushrooms, and all kinds of chewy and fragrant beef products. Even though Zhang Qianyang wasn't very particular about food, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva at the thought of it. He turned to look at Su Yiyan and asked eagerly, Yan, are we still eating the same hot pot as last night? Su Yiyan. Fine. He already knew to ask her for food. That was a big improvement. However, no matter how much they liked hot pot, they couldn't eat it every day, especially when these two guys were purely spicy. If they ate it every day, no matter how much soup or tea she made for them, it would be useless. In the end, Su Yiyan was especially cold and ruthless. She rejected Zhang Qianyang's suggestion to continue eating hot pot and instead prepared lychee meat, eggplant with garlic sauce, cold cucumber salad, and other dishes for them. After hesitating for a long time, she finally felt a little compassion and added spicy boiled fish. Zhang Qianyang was a little disappointed that he couldn't eat the hot pot, but when the spicy boiled fish was added, he was instantly captivated. He found out that although these dishes were made by the family's chef, the specific recipes were taught by Su Yiyan. Zhang Qianyang, who had always been the child of others, tasted sour lemons for the first time. His nephew had married such a capable wife. What kind of heavenly life was he living every day? Hua Chenhuan didn't know that because of a few dishes, she had become a winner in life that even her uncle envied. After untying the knot in his heart, Zhang Qianyang settled down at the family Hua mansion with a clear conscience. Usually, he would not stay at home during the day. He would only come back at dinner time and at night. As for Hua Chenhuan, it was unknown if she had already cooperated with Hua Xiaofan to obtain the so-called evidence in his hands. She had been quite busy recently and often went out. Su Yiyan was bored at home alone and could only watch the show. The drama in Hua Xiaofeng's house was coming to an end. It was no longer interesting. Su Yiyan could only change her target and eat the drama in high E. To be precise, she ate the drama in Wen Jingping's production team. It was obvious that Wen Jingping had instigated Dou Tianyi to poach Pan Yuan. She had also deliberately made the Empress to extort Red Dancer. She was trying her best to get back at Su Yiyan for all the losses she had suffered previously. Because of this, Red Dancer was still busy casting, but the production team of the Empress was already in full swing. Hai had a good plan. The sooner they finished shooting, edited, and submitted for approval, the sooner they could seize the opportunity and occupy the market first. No matter what industry it was, there was a limit to the acceptance of the same type of thing. Chapter 736. Take palace dramas as an example. 1 palace drama was amazing, and 2 palace dramas were memorable. 3, 4, 5, or even hundreds of palace dramas, no matter how good something was, no matter how novel it was, it would be used countless times and the audience would be tired of it. Hai Yi's move was nothing more than to let the Empress be released before Red Brave, to take advantage of the timing, take its advantage, and put Dongqing Entertainment at a disadvantage. However, they obviously forgot the old saying, haste makes waste. Less than a month after the filming started, there was a big fight between the female lead and the second female lead. Hai Yi's love for Wen Jingping could be said to be true. They knew that Wen Jingping had a lot of previous scandals, but they waited until all the scandals were dealt with before announcing Wen Jingping's identity as the female lead. Unfortunately, the internet had memories. Even if the reports related to Wen Jingping had been deleted, it had only been a year at most, but there were still many people who knew about her previous incident. Especially when Wen Jingping took her boyfriend to Dongqing Entertainment to find Su Yeyen for a fight. The story of the mistress bringing her ex-fiancé to Dongqing Entertainment and being slapped in the face by the ex-fiancé was very interesting and satisfying. They thought that the mistress's entertainment career would be over. Who would have thought that in just a year, she would come back from the ashes? Not only was she signed into a big company, but she was also the female lead of a big company's big production. Dongqing Entertainment's public relations department was not to be trifled with. Wen Jingping's identity was originally a hidden bomb. Now that this bomb had been thrown out, if they did not take advantage of this opportunity to detonate this bomb, how could they be worthy of the previous incident? As a result, the feud between Wen Jingping and Dongqing Entertainment's boss was pulled out, and the previous incident of the Empress extorting Red Brave was also pulled out. It would have been fine if these two matters were not put together. Now that they were put together, many people's imaginations were already running wild, and they imagined the grudges and grievances hidden in this little episode. In view of the fact that Wen Jingping had dragged her ex-fiancé to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé, and that it was Hai Yi who had first blackmailed Dongqing, this matter seemed like a certain green TB*TCH who had gotten her way and was pretentious to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé. All of a sudden, the comments section under the Empress and Hai Yi's official account were flooded with comments. People from all walks of life were arguing and criticizing the show. Everything that had happened to Red Brave had now been returned to the production team of Queen. It could be considered an eye for an eye. Compared to the PR department of East Jade City who took this opportunity to wipe away their previous humiliation, the PR department of Hai Yi Arts was going crazy. Although they had already prepared for a tough battle before the crew announced the female lead role, they still had a lot of things to worry about. However, as a newcomer, Wen Jingping had really stepped on all the landmines that a newcomer could step on. Although they complained, they were all employees of Hai Yi Arts, and this woman was obviously someone that the boss wanted to protect. They could only pinch their noses and do their best to help with the PR. However, not everyone was angry with Wen Jingping, but they did not dare to say anything. Zhuo Wanshu was the most popular among the new generation of female artists in Hai Yi Arts. She had a sweet appearance and a straightforward personality. She had been pursued by countless fans since her debut, and in a few years, she had grown into one of the few big stars. Other artists were afraid of being left out and without resources, but her schedule was full 24 hours a day. She was almost non-stop, and rarely had time to spare. Chapter 737. When the discussion started online, Zhuo Wanshu and Wen Jingping were filming a scene where they fell into the water. It was the beginning of winter, and the weather was cold. The water was already cold, and it was even colder at night. However, Wen Jingping's acting wasn't good, and they had to drag the scene 7 or 8 times. Zhuo Wanshu kept touching up, falling into the water, touching up, and falling into the water again. Her face turned green. In the end, the director couldn't stand it anymore and asked Zhuo Wanshu to take a rest while he scolded Wen Jingping with a loudspeaker. Wanshu. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been watching from the side. When the director called for a break, she immediately rushed over with a blanket and wrapped Zhuo Wanshu up. Are you okay? Hurry up and warm yourself up. I asked Xiao Wang to buy some ginger soup for you. You'll be fine after drinking it. Zhuo Wanshu's lips and face were blue from the cold. After drinking the ginger soup, she felt better and hugged the stove that her assistant brought over. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been taking care of her since she entered the entertainment industry. Seeing her like this, she was both distressed and angry. The company's higher-ups must have lost their minds to let such a half-baked person be the main lead and even let you play her supporting role. They've gone too far. Sister Ming, don't say too much. Although Zhuo Wanshu was angry, there were too many people in the crew. She couldn't guarantee that no one would hear her and cause trouble. She's already in this state. Why can't she say it? Look at how many people in the production crew are interested in her. Sister Ming glanced at Wen Jingping, who was tearing up from being scolded by Pan Yuan. She looked like she had suffered a great grievance but was pretending to be strong. Sister Ming was even more furious. You have a good temper. If you had been more stubborn and rejected this script, how could there be so many messy things happening? Zhuo Wanshu pursed her lips as a cold light flashed through her eyes. How can it be so easy to reject? Half a year ago, she had just finished filming an advertisement and was discussing with her manager about rejecting a few unnecessary jobs to rest for 2 days when she received a notice from the company. She was asked to act in a television drama that the company was investing in, to nurse a newcomer who had just joined the company. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager heard this, they knew that this newcomer had some background. Although they were a little unwilling, they still accepted it. Originally, he thought that even if Zhuo Wanshu was a newbie in the milk company, with her current status, even if she was not the main character, she would at least have a special role. In the end, she was given the role of the second female lead to act as a supporting actress for this newcomer. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager returned to the company and saw the script, their faces darkened. However, due to the pressure from the higher-ups, they signed the contract in the end. It would be fine if Wen Jingping's acting skills were better, but in fact, she was just a small streamer on a live broadcast platform a year ago. She was a real layman in the acting world. Even with the protagonist aura, she had learned more than the average person in the past few months. However, in front of a group of seniors who were older than her, it was still not enough. In addition, in order to seize the initiative, High E Art had started production early. For Wen Jingping, it felt like she was forcing a duck onto a perch. The consequences were obvious. After a month of filming, the crew was on the verge of exploding every day. The atmosphere was terrifying. The actors and even the staff were all depressed. How could their work efficiency be high? Ah! As the two were talking, they suddenly heard a cry of surprise. They looked over and saw that it was Zhuo Wanshu's assistant, Xiao Wang. Chapter 738. Sister Ming looked at Xiao Wang and frowned. She asked softly, "What's wrong?" Xiao Wang hesitated for a moment before telling them what he had just seen. After Zhuo Wanshu and Sister Ming heard this, their expressions became even more subtle. They looked at Wen Jingping with more curiosity and disdain. Is this true? Or is the media purposely spreading rumors? It should be true. I asked my cousin who is a fan of celebrities. She said that she had seen Miss Wen's scandal before. Apparently, there were pictures and videos of that incident. There was no way to turn the tables. Unfortunately, it seems that all those things have been deleted. I also heard that. Xiao Wang looked around. After making sure that no one was around, he leaned closer to the two and said, "That family Hua young master was kicked out of his company for some reason and lost his inheritance rights. Miss Wen broke up with him soon after. Who would have thought that she would enter High E Entertainment a few months after they broke up? And they were both in the industry and weren't fools. They could guess what was going on from Xiao Wang's words. Previously, they had guessed that Wen Jingping might be a relative of one of the company's executives. Otherwise, why would they spend so much money to get her such a huge resource? Now, it seemed that she wasn't a relative. She was clearly a boss's lover. Zhuo Wanshu's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. The fire in her heart couldn't help but rise. If it weren't for the fact that he had been in the industry for so many years and his sharp edges had been smoothed out, he would have already shed all pretense of cordiality on the spot and left. At that time, not many people in the crew knew about the news on the internet. After Pan Yuan scolded Wen Jingping, he went to look for Zhuo Wanshu. Sister Ming knew what he was thinking, so before he could say anything she said, "Director Pan, it's really cold today. Wanshu has jumped back and forth almost 10 times. Look at her face, it's so pale. I'm worried that her body will have problems if she continues to freeze like this. Why don't we stop here for today? I'll take her back to see a doctor." Pan Yuan was stunned. He looked at Zhuo Wanshu. Her eyes were drooping, her face was abnormally pale, and she looked weak. Looking at her condition, it was unlikely that there would be any good effects if they continued to shoot. Moreover, today's matter was not Zhuo Wanshu's fault. He was also worried that he would have to bear the responsibility if she really fell ill. He sighed and said, "All right, it's already very late. You should take Wanshu back first. Don't let her freeze." Sister Ming hastily nodded and left with Zhuo Wanshu. What everyone didn't know was that as soon as they left the set, someone had already taken a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face. Not long after the announcement that Wen Jingping was going to be the female lead of the TV series was announced, some well-connected internet users found out that the second female lead of the TV series was actually the famous flower Zhuo Wanshu. This time, they had poked a hornet's nest. Who was Wen Jingping? They had never heard of her before. It was said that she had been a mistress and had harmed her teammates during a talent show. Such a vicious green tea white lotus. Even if their family's Shu was to be her partner, she would still be worthy. As the old saying goes, if you want to wear a crown, you have to bear its weight. According to the original plot, Wen Jingping had walked step by step from a supporting role to a leading role. Even if her acting wasn't good at the beginning, there would still be a leading role to share the blame. As a supporting role, even if she was scolded, she wouldn't be scolded too badly. However, she was going to be the female lead of a big production. She didn't give anyone a chance to take a breather. She was just short of blatantly telling everyone that she had invested in the production and had a backer. Who else would they scold if not her? Chapter 739. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu was exposed as a supporting actress for a newcomer, a certain media outlet released a piece of news. Hi's newcomer has a big background? Famous actress Zhuo Wanshu fell into the water and froze for 2 hours. This piece of news caused an uproar among the crew. Zhuo Wanshu's fans were still angry that their idol was forced to be a supporting actress for a newcomer with no previous works. When they saw this piece of news, they almost exploded with anger. This piece of news even included a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face when she got out of the water, as well as a short video of her being helped out of the set by her manager and assistant. In the video, Zhuo Wanshu's pale face and wobbly body poked at the hearts of many fans, making them even more worried and angry. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Shushu's face is so pale that she can't even stand properly. Is the crew shooting a movie or trying to murder her? I just saw a piece of news saying that a certain female lead's acting skills are bad and caused Shushu to jump more than 10 times. In this kind of weather, jumping once is bad enough, let alone more than 10 times? Are you sure she didn't do it on purpose? F***CK, even if she didn't do it on purpose, it only shows that her acting skills are bad. How can she be the female lead if she doesn't have any acting skills? If she doesn't have any skills, she shouldn't take on this job. Is she proud of herself for causing others to suffer? Or is she doing it on purpose because she's jealous of our Shushu's popularity and wants to harm her? What's the background of this woman? A rich second-generation heir? Someone with connections? Shushu is being bullied like this. Are the crew and the management company all dead? Don't they know how to stop her? What rich second-generation heir? It's more like she's good at hooking rich second-generation heirs. This woman was the one who cheated on Dong Cheng's boss, Mr. Su. She even brought her scumbag to his ex-fiancé. She's a ruthless character. Who knows which boss of high art she crawled into bed and coaxed him to let her be the female lead. She even asked Shu to be her supporting character. Trash company. How much money has Shu earned for the company over the years? In the end, they let her be a stepping stone just to promote this piece of trash. What a heartless company. When this piece of news came out, Zhuo Wanshu's fans were completely pissed off. They were on the front lines of cursing Wen Jingping. Because of this, she even dragged Hai out and scolded them. The public relations department didn't expect that before they were done with their public relations, there would be such a big issue of internal strife in the production team. Under such pressure, he could only get someone to call Zhuo Wanshu's manager and ask her to clarify the matter and suppress it. When Sister Ming received the call, Zhuo Wanshu was running a high fever. Zhuo Wanshu had been working hard for the past 2 years, so her body was weak. Now that he was soaked in water, his body collapsed and he was a little dazed from the fever. Sister Ming was so angry that she almost smashed her phone when she received the company's order, for them to work with the crew to release a statement to protect Wen Jingping. When Zhuo Wanshu heard Sister Ming arguing with the other party, she felt a chill in her heart. Although she had expected such an outcome, she was already burning up like this. Not only did the company not show any concern on the surface, but they were also in such a hurry to ask her to help clarify the rumors outside. It was clear at a glance which was more important and which was more important. When a person was sick, they would be especially fragile and overthink things. If Zhuo Wanshu had not been sick, she would have endured it no matter how dissatisfied she was. Chapter 740. However, at this time, Zhuo Wanshu really couldn't take it lying down. She had never been a good-tempered person. All these years, if it weren't for the fact that Hai-E Entertainment had her contract in their hands and that her agent had been helping her deal with things on her behalf, she would have torn some people apart long ago. This matter was the fuse and the straw that broke the camel's back. The anger that Zhuo Wanshu had been accumulating for a long time suddenly exploded. Release. What? Sister Ming turned to look at Zhuo Wanshu in surprise. Zhuo Wanshu's face was still red from her high fever, but her eyes were unexpectedly sharp. If they want you to release, then release. Negotiate with the crew. I want to leave the cast. Leave the cast. Xiao Wang and Sister Ming exclaimed at the same time. Then the penalty. Not much. Hai-E had originally invested in this drama. Perhaps because they believed that their artists wouldn't cause any trouble, they had loosened the conditions for signing an actor's contract. Although the penalty wasn't a small amount, it wasn't an astronomical figure for Zhuo Wanshu. Of course, she had also wanted to use this incident to test the company. If the crew really insisted that she pay the penalty, then... Zhuo Wanshu was angry. Sister Ming hesitated. But the company... I only have half a year left on my contract. Even if I'm frozen, it won't be for long. Zhuo Wanshu couldn't help but cough. Her heart-wrenching cough made people feel sorry for her. She only had half a year left on her contract. More than a month ago, the company had already asked Sister Ming to negotiate with her about renewing her contract. Zhuo Wanshu still hadn't renewed her contract because of this incident. If the company didn't care about this and fell out with her because of Wen Jingping, then there was no need for her to stay. I want to see if the company will really freeze me because of this. If it really came to that, then there was nothing left for her to stay. Zhuo Wanshu's agent quickly contacted the crew and tactfully told them that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the crew. Of course, the crew didn't agree. They even contacted Hai-E to put pressure on Zhuo Wanshu. However, to everyone's surprise, after receiving Pan Yuan's call, Hai-E Art didn't directly give a definite answer. They only said that they would negotiate with Zhuo Wanshu. As a result, early the next morning, Hai-E gave them a reply. Using Zhuo Wanshu's physical condition as an excuse, they hoped that the crew could accept her resignation. Hai-E would also be responsible for the crew's losses during this period. Many people in the crew were shocked by this outcome. Even Zhuo Wanshu and her manager felt that something was wrong. However, since the company had already relented, they didn't have to be overly cautious. Their confidence was instantly boosted. The next morning, Zhuo Wanshu's manager made a post. The general content was that Zhuo Wanshu had to leave the cast of Empress due to a sudden illness. She thanked the crew for their care during this period of time and expressed her regret that she could not continue working with them. She hoped that there would be a chance to work together again in the future. Blah blah blah, a bunch of polite words. It was obvious that this was an official speech. Although the post emphasized that Zhuo Wanshu had a sudden illness and needed to rest for a period of time before leaving the cast, her fans obviously didn't buy it. The media had just revealed that their little fairy had been bullied on set and soaked in cold water for an hour or two on a cold day, and now she suddenly fell ill? Did he really think that everyone was a fool? Chapter 741. She had said so much nonsense. In the end, the illness was fake, and she was frozen to death. Once this post was posted, the fans did not stop. Instead, they scolded even more fiercely. Some fans even tried to persuade Zhuo Wanshu to transfer to Dongqing after her contract expired. It was easy to compare similar companies. Look at how protective other companies are and how much they respect their old artists and employees. Then look at your company. Su Yiyan laughed so hard that she almost choked. She felt that her company owed Hai-E Entertainment advertising fees. Every time, no matter what they did, the advertisements would come to their company. However, Hai-E Entertainment's actions were beyond Su Yiyan's expectations. She thought that since they were all in the same company, no matter how fierce the private fights were, they would not come out in the open. Now, it seemed that she was naive. However, Wen Jingping's reputation, which she had tried so hard to salvage, was ruined even more. She was probably going to die from anger. Wen Jingping was indeed going crazy. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu left, she left as well. Before she left, the director told her to go back and study the script. He also threatened to delete her scenes if she did not do it properly the next day. Wen Jingping was so angry that she wanted to call Dou Tianyi to complain. However, she could not get through. In the end, she was so angry that she fell asleep. The next morning, as soon as she entered the set, she felt that everyone was looking at her strangely. Even her assistant looked like she wanted to say something. Wen Jingping was confused. She thought that it was because of yesterday's consecutive NGs until her agent came to her and told her what happened last night. Wen Jingping's first reaction was to ask Dou Tianyi for help. However, before she could make the call, she received news that Zhuo Wanshu had quit due to illness. Wen Jingping's heart suddenly thumped. She finally sensed that something was wrong. Zhuo Wanshu was an artist under Hai-E Entertainment. Hai-E Entertainment was the biggest investor in this drama. Without Hai-E Entertainment's permission, she would not have dared to quit the set. She began to call Dou Tianyi like a madwoman, but either no one picked up or the line was busy. Wen Jingping's heart gradually turned cold. She did not understand why Dou Tianyi would suddenly give her the cold shoulder. Or rather, even she didn't notice that the other party had started to neglect her at some point. Wen Jingping wasn't the only one who had doubts. Many of Hai Art's internal staff also had the same doubts. When the head of the public relations department, Pu Yi, found out that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the production team, he immediately reported this matter to the people around the big boss. She originally thought that the other party would force Zhuo Wanshu to stay on the set and continue filming. She also thought that the other party would unconditionally clarify the rumors about Wen Jingping. Unexpectedly, the response he received was, "Just do the necessary PR. Also, appease Zhuo Wanshu well." Appease Zhuo Wanshu? The minister almost thought that he had misheard. Was he trying to pacify Zhuo Wanshu and not Wen Jingping? So, who was the big boss's little lover? The head of the public relations department had been in Hai-E Entertainment for many years and had experienced countless storms and waves. This was the first time. He was confused. And the main culprit of all this really did not have the slightest interest in Wen Jingping. Not this. Dou Tianyi threw a stack of documents on the table and rubbed his temples to relieve the discomfort in his head. Not this either? Li Yu pulled the stack of documents in front of her and flipped through a few pages. Her face was serious and distressed. Chapter 742. A few months ago, Dou Tianyi bought a bowl of Buddha jumps over the wall from a lucky fan in Su Yiyan's live broadcast room at a high price. He enjoyed the delicacy alone under Li Yu's disapproving gaze. He thought that what awaited him would be an uncomfortable allergic reaction and the familiar shock. He did not expect that after eating it, he would not have any symptoms of discomfort. Although the 1-month relapse still came as scheduled, the symptoms were much better. However, the effect of the soup seemed to last only for a month. In the second month, Dou Tianyi's illness returned to its original state. Even so, this discovery still surprised Dou Tianyi. His intuition told him that this soup was different from the dishes that Wen Jingping had made for him during this time. This streamer, who was hidden behind the screen, could do much more for him than Wen Jingping. Since then, Dou Tianyi issued the most urgent order to all the employees in charge of intelligence work. They were to find this streamer at all costs. At that time, Li Yu naively thought that as long as Dou Tianyi was determined to investigate, he would be able to find her very quickly. As a result, the investigation took several months. They investigated several people, but none of them were the streamer. Why isn't even this one? At first, the investigation went very smoothly. Dou Tianyi's face darkened slightly. We've been deceived. Deceived. Deceiving others, deliberately mystifying things. Li Yu was not stupid. After hearing what he said, she instantly thought of something. Do you mean that someone deliberately set up a smokescreen to confuse us so that we won't find the real streamer? Dou Tianyi did not speak. He bent his finger and knocked on the wheelchair handle. After a long while, he pointed at a magnified picture on the screen. Get someone to check this ring. Ring. Li Yu took a closer look and found that it was a somewhat blurry magnified picture of a human hand. In the middle of the picture was a beautiful diamond ring on the ring finger. This is... She's wearing it on her hand. It went without saying who Dou Tianyi was referring to. This ring was naturally Su Yiyan and Hua Chenhuan's wedding ring. When they had just gotten married, Su Yiyan had worn this ring for a few live broadcasts. Later on, perhaps she felt that it was inconvenient to bring it along to cook, and she was also worried that it would fall off when she was washing things. So she put it away and rarely appeared again. Dou Tianyi had been watching all the recordings of Su Yiyan's live stream during this period of time, so it was not strange for him to notice this. The style and workmanship of this ring are rare. She and her husband should have some background and not be short of money. It's very likely that the wedding ring was specially custom-made. You can check in this direction. Li Yu's eyes lit up. All right, I'll check it out right away. Su Yiyan, who didn't know that she had been targeted because of a wedding ring, happily finished eating Wen Jingping's melon. She listened to the system's real-time broadcast with satisfaction. The snatching golden finger halo had increased by a lot. Together with the previous rewards, it had increased to 20%. She believed that when Wen Jingping's drama started airing and its reputation suffered a setback, this progress would usher in a small explosion. She just had to wait patiently. Young madam, there's an email for you. Email? Who sent it? It's not written here. It seems to be an anonymous email. An anonymous email. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and glanced at the email brought in by the bodyguard. From its appearance, it seemed to be something like a document card. It was quite thick, so it shouldn't be dangerous. Su Yiyan took the email and tore it open. When she flipped through the contents, her pupils suddenly shrank. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.